For years, most computer users have lived inside a predictable rhythm of operating system upgrades. A new version comes out. It's marketed as faster, safer, better. You back up your files, cross your fingers, and click upgrade. Maybe it works perfectly. Maybe something breaks. But either way, you're locked into that cycle. Wait, upgrade, repeat. Now imagine a different world. No big version jumps. No dramatic reinstall every year or two. No end-of-support countdown forcing you into a disruptive transition. Instead, your system quietly evolves every single day. Small improvements arrive continuously. Security patches slide in seamlessly. New features appear without ceremony. Your system is always current, always fresh, without ever being replaced. That's the hidden power of rolling release Linux. At first glance, rolling release sounds like a simple technical difference. Instead of version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, you just get ongoing updates. But beneath that surface lies something much deeper. Rolling release fundamentally changes your relationship with your operating system. It turns your computer from a static product into a living, breathing environment. To understand why this matters, you have to look at how traditional release models work. In fixed-release distributions, developers freeze the software ecosystem at a certain point in time. They select specific versions of the Linux kernel, desktop environments, libraries, and applications. Everything is tested together as a snapshot. Once released, that snapshot becomes your base. Updates focus mainly on security and critical fixes. Major software changes are postponed until the next version cycle. This approach has benefits. It offers predictability. Enterprises and conservative users appreciate stability above all else. But stability often comes at a cost: stagnation. New features in desktop environments may take months to arrive. Hardware support might lag. Performance improvements sit upstream while users wait patiently for the next major release. Rolling release flips this model on its head. Instead of freezing the system, developers continuously integrate updates. When a new Linux kernel is stable, it ships. When a desktop environment publishes improvements, they land in your repositories. When a graphics stack upgrade improves performance, you receive it without reinstalling anything. The result is momentum. Your system doesn't age. It evolves. One of the most visible examples of this philosophy is Arch Linux. Arch is famous for its simplicity and minimalism, but its real power lies in how it delivers software. There is no Arch Linux 2024 versus Arch Linux 2025. There is only Arch. Install it once. Keep updating, and it remains current indefinitely. The system you installed 5 years ago can still be cutting-edge today, without ever reinstalling. Another strong example is openSUSE Tumbleweed, which combines rolling updates with automated testing frameworks. Updates aren't just thrown into the wild. They're tested as snapshots before release, ensuring that even though the system moves quickly, it maintains reliability. Then there's Manjaro, which builds on Arch but adds an additional testing layer and user-friendly tools, making rolling release accessible to a broader audience. These distributions demonstrate that rolling release is not chaos. It's controlled evolution. The hidden power begins with hardware support. In the Linux ecosystem, hardware compatibility often improves with newer kernels and drivers. A fixed release might ship with a kernel that's already months old. If you buy a brand new graphics card or Wi-Fi chipset, support might not exist yet in your current version. You're left waiting for the next major release, manually installing backported kernels, or switching distributions entirely. Rolling release users rarely face this dilemma. New kernels arrive quickly, graphics drivers update continuously. Support for cutting-edge hardware becomes available far sooner. For gamers, creators, and developers who rely on modern GPUs or CPUs, this can be transformative. Performance improvements and bug fixes appear organically, without disruptive migrations. There's also the psychological impact. Fixed releases create artificial milestones. You know your system is old when a new version number appears. You anticipate a future upgrade event. Rolling release dissolves that tension. There is no looming cliff, no dramatic jump. The system simply flows forward. That flow has another advantage: consistency of workflow. Large version upgrades can introduce sweeping interface changes. A desktop environment might redesign its layout. A system component might deprecate old behavior. When everything changes at once, the experience can feel jarring. Rolling release spreads change over time. Small adjustments are easier to adapt to than massive overhauls. Developers benefit enormously from this model. Modern software development moves fast. New programming language versions introduce features and optimizations. Toolchains evolve. Libraries improve. On fixed distributions, developers often rely on external repositories or containers to access newer tools. Rolling release distributions, by contrast, deliver up-to-date compilers, interpreters, and libraries natively. Consider someone working with containerized applications, AI frameworks, or web development stacks. Having immediate access to the latest versions of Docker, Node.js, Python, or GCC reduces friction. It shortens the gap between upstream innovation and daily productivity. Security is another subtle strength. Many people assume that conservative release models are inherently safer because they change less frequently. But security threats evolve rapidly. Rolling release distributions can integrate patched versions of software as soon as they're stable upstream. Instead of waiting for a backport, users receive the corrected version directly. The attack surface shrinks quickly. Of course, speed introduces responsibility. Rolling release requires a slightly different mindset. You don't ignore updates for months. You stay engaged with your system. You read update notices. You develop a habit of maintaining backups. But this engagement isn't a burden, it's empowerment. You become aware of your system's evolution. There's a myth that rolling release is unstable by nature. The truth is more nuanced. Instability usually comes from poor testing or user modifications, not from the rolling concept itself. Distributions like openSUSE Tumbleweed prove that automated QA pipelines can deliver constant updates without sacrificing reliability. Snapshots are tested against thousands of integration scenarios before reaching users. Another hidden advantage is storage efficiency. Traditional upgrades sometimes require duplicate system images or reinstallation media. Rolling release updates incrementally. Only changed components are downloaded and installed. Over time, this can reduce redundant overhead. There's also the matter of learning. Rolling release distributions encourage curiosity. Because updates are frequent, users encounter new features and technologies regularly. You learn how system components interact. You understand dependencies. You become more comfortable troubleshooting minor issues. The operating system transforms from a black box into a transparent tool. Transparency is a core value in the Linux ecosystem. Rolling release embodies it beautifully. Instead of hiding evolution behind yearly announcements, it reveals progress in real time. You witness innovation as it happens. For content creators and tech enthusiasts, this dynamic nature is especially appealing. You can explore the latest desktop environments as soon as they're released. You can test new Wayland improvements, kernel schedulers, or file system features without waiting for a future distribution cycle. There's also longevity. Many fixed-release distributions reach end of life after a certain period. Users must upgrade or risk losing security updates. Rolling release distributions eliminate that expiration date. As long as the project continues and you maintain updates, your installation remains viable indefinitely. This longevity aligns with sustainability. Instead of reinstalling every few years, generating new system images, and discarding configurations, you maintain continuity. Your system grows with you. Configurations persist. Customizations remain intact. The hidden power isn't just technical. It's philosophical. Rolling release embraces the idea that software should reflect the present moment. It rejects artificial segmentation of time into versions. It acknowledges that innovation is continuous. But rolling release isn't for everyone. In enterprise environments where strict change management policies exist, fixed releases still dominate. Servers running mission-critical workloads may prioritize absolute predictability over freshness. That's a valid trade-off. However, for personal desktops, developers, enthusiasts, gamers, and creators, rolling release offers something liberating. It removes barriers between you and upstream innovation. It turns your operating system into a living stream rather than a frozen lake. The deeper you explore, the more you notice subtle benefits. Package managers and rolling distributions are often highly optimized. Dependency resolution becomes an art form. Documentation frequently emphasizes user understanding rather than abstraction. Take the Arch philosophy: simplicity, user centrality, transparency. It doesn't mean easy, it means understandable. That philosophy, combined with rolling release, creates a system where you're not just a consumer but a participant. Community plays a major role as well. Rolling release communities tend to be highly active because change is constant. Forums, wikis, and discussion boards evolve alongside the software. Solutions to new issues appear quickly. Knowledge spreads organically. There's also the creative edge. When you're always on the latest stack, you can experiment with emerging technologies immediately. Want to try a new compositor? It's available. Interested in the latest file system enhancements? They're there. Curious about performance improvements in the newest kernel scheduler? Update and test. Contrast that with waiting 6 months or a year for those features to trickle down. Rolling release aligns perfectly with the open source development cycle. Upstream developers push improvements continuously. Rolling distributions mirror that rhythm. They don't artificially slow the pace. Even visually, the experience can feel modern. Desktop environments like KDE Plasma and GNOME frequently introduce design refinements. Rolling users see those changes gradually, keeping their system feeling contemporary. But perhaps the most profound hidden power is ownership. When you use a rolling release distribution, you take responsibility for your environment. You're not passively waiting for a corporation's annual release event. You're actively shaping your system's trajectory. Updates become routine, not traumatic. Maintenance becomes mindfulness, not emergency. There's something satisfying about running a system that's perpetually current. You know your kernel isn't outdated. Your drivers aren't stale. Your applications aren't lagging behind. You're experiencing Linux as it exists today, not as it existed months ago. This continuous freshness also reduces fragmentation in certain communities. Instead of discussing version X versus version Y, users often operate on similar current baselines. Conversations focus on features rather than upgrade paths. In creative workflows, that matters. Video editors, audio producers, and 3D artists benefit from performance improvements and bug fixes immediately. Rolling release shortens the distance between upstream optimization and real-world productivity. It's important to acknowledge the learning curve. Rolling release requires understanding that updates may occasionally require manual intervention. Configuration files might need merging. Deprecated packages might need replacing. But these moments are opportunities to deepen your knowledge rather than obstacles. Modern tooling has also mitigated many historical concerns. Snapshot features, BTRFs rollbacks, and transactional updates provide safety nets. If an update misbehaves, you can revert quickly. The fear of breakage diminishes. In fact, some rolling distributions combine atomic update concepts with rolling models, blending innovation with resilience. The boundaries between release philosophies are becoming more fluid. What makes rolling release truly powerful is its alignment with reality. Technology doesn't move in yearly jumps. It moves daily. Security researchers discover vulnerabilities continuously. Developers push patches constantly. Hardware evolves every quarter. Rolling release reflects that tempo. It's not about chasing novelty for its own sake. It's about removing artificial delay. It's about experiencing software as a process rather than a product. When you step back, you realize that rolling release isn't just a distribution model. It's a mindset shift. It says that your system doesn't need periodic rebirth. It needs steady growth. That growth builds confidence. The more you update successfully, the more you trust the process. The more you understand your system, the less intimidating change becomes. Over time, you may find that you no longer fear updates. You welcome them. They represent progress, not disruption. The hidden power of rolling release Linux lies in this transformation from passive user to active participant, from static installation to living environment, from scheduled upheaval to seamless evolution. It's subtle. It doesn't announce itself with flashy marketing campaigns. It doesn't rely on version numbers to prove progress. It simply moves forward, one update at a time. And if you embrace it, you might discover that your operating system feels less like a tool you replace and more like a companion that grows alongside you.